All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle one of the biggest complaints of modern life. Why are we always so tired? It's like this silent epidemic, this constant feeling of just running on empty. But what if I told you the answer has almost nothing to do with your bedtime and everything to do with a hidden biological code that we're about to unlock together? You know the feeling, right? You do everything you're supposed to. You get your 8 hours, maybe even 9. You drink water, but you wake up and you feel like you haven't slept a wink. This isn't just being tired. The source material for this calls it biological bankruptcy, and I think that's the perfect term for it. It's this deep energy debt that no amount of sleep can seem to pay off. It's incredibly frustrating. So, we have to go deeper. The real problem isn't on the surface, it's microscopic. We've been looking in completely the wrong place. The issue isn't your sleep schedule, it's your cellular power grid. The entire system that generates your energy is failing. Think about it that way. The problem isn't how long you charge for. It's that the grid itself is broken. And at the very heart of that power grid, these amazing little things called mitochondria. You have trillions of them inside you. They are literally the power plants of your body. They take the food you eat, the oxygen you breathe, and they turn it into ATP. And ATP is the universal currency of energy for your entire body. Every single thought, every movement, every heartbeat is powered by these tiny engines. This is probably the best way to understand the problem. Think about your phone's battery. When it's brand new, you charge it and it lasts all day long. That's what healthy mitochondria are like. But what about an old phone? You can have it plugged in all night for 8 solid hours and it still dies by 10 a.m. That is exactly what's happening inside your body when your mitochondria are damaged. No amount of sleep, no amount of charging is going to fix a fundamentally broken battery. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if you could build a brand new battery? What if you could just rebuild your entire cellular power grid from scratch? Well, the instructions to do just that are already inside you. They're written into your own genetic code. We just have to figure out how to access those instructions. And that command center has a name, PGC1 alpha. I want you to think of this molecule as the master switch for your entire energy system. When you flip this switch, it kicks off a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. It sounds complicated, but biogenesis just means the birth of new things. In this case, the creation of brand new, powerful, high-functioning mitochondria. This is how you build that new battery. And this switch is about as black and white as it gets. When PGC1 alpha is turned on, your body gets the signal to build. You get a surge of energy, your metabolism fires up, your thinking gets sharper. But when that switch is off, the whole system just grinds to a halt. And the result is what so many of us feel: fatigue, brain fog, and that general cellular decay we just call aging. So the million-dollar question is, how do we flip this switch on? So how do we flip that switch? It turns out our body is listening for 3 very specific signals. The first one is mechanical stress. And I want you to think about this less like working out and more like sending a direct order to your body. It's time to build a bigger engine. So what kind of exercise sends that signal? Well, it's not necessarily the all-out gut-busting workouts. The science actually points to something called Zone 2 cardio. This is that low and slow, steady activity, where you're moving, but you can still hold a conversation without gasping for air. The whole point here isn't to create maximum intensity. It's to create a long-sustained demand for energy that basically tells your body, hey, we're going to need more power plants to keep up with this. You're literally building mitochondrial volume. And you can see the chain of command right here. The stimulus, that Zone 2 exercise, gets picked up by a sensor in your cells called AMPK. You can think of AMPK as your body's internal fuel gauge. When it senses that energy reserves are getting a little low, its one job is to send a direct signal to our master switch, PGC1 alpha, telling it to turn on. It's a beautiful, direct pathway. Stimulus, sensor, action. Okay, so building a bigger engine is one part of the equation, but you also have to maintain the system you've got. And that brings us to the second signal our body is listening for: chemical stress. Or, a much better way to think of it is taking out the cellular trash. This second signal isn't sent by what you're doing, but by what you're not doing. Specifically, not eating all the time. Intermittent fasting creates these periods where your glucose levels are low. And you have to understand this. You cannot build a new, clean power grid if you are constantly shoveling fuel into the furnace. It's only during these down times when your cells aren't busy processing incoming food that they can finally run their essential cleanup and renewal program. And look, here's another, totally different but equally powerful pathway. The low glucose from fasting is sensed by a different protein called SIRT1. SIRT1 is kind of like a quality control manager. It goes around cleaning up old, damaged parts to get the cell ready for renewal. And what does it do to kickstart that renewal process? It activates the exact same master switch, PGC1 alpha. So you have two completely different signals from two different activities, both telling the body to do the same thing, build more power. So let's say you're doing it all. You're doing your zone 2 cardio, you're practicing intermittent fasting, but you're still exhausted. This right here is where so many people get completely stuck. And it's where this whole story takes a really critical turn, because it turns out there is a third signal, one that is so powerful it can override the other two completely. This is the piece that's been missing for so many of us. Your mitochondria, they're not just dumb little engines. They are incredibly intelligent biosensors. They are constantly monitoring your environment, and they are literally listening to the story of your life, specifically how safe you feel and how connected you are to others. The research identifies this powerful biological program called the Cellular Danger Response, or CDR. This is a deep, ancient survival mode that gets triggered by threats. Now, here's the crazy part. Your cells can't tell the difference between a real physical threat, like a predator chasing you, and a modern psychosocial threat, like chronic loneliness or a toxic job or a bad relationship. To your cells, the danger signal is identical. And just look what happens when that danger signal is constantly on. Your body shifts from peace mode into war mode. In peace mode, when you feel safe, your mitochondria are online, they're cranking out energy, they're running repair programs. But in war mode, energy production is taken completely offline. All of your cellular resources are diverted away from making energy and are rerouted to mounting a defense, which we feel as inflammation and, you guessed it, profound fatigue. And this brings us to the most important point of this entire explainer. You can have the perfect diet, you can have the perfect exercise plan, but if your cells are stuck in war mode because of chronic stress, loneliness, or fear, the master switch for making energy will stay off, period. As the source material says, you simply cannot biohack your way out of a life that feels unsafe. Community and safety aren't just nice ideas, they are non-negotiable biological requirements for making energy. So here it is, the whole picture. The trinity of signals that actually control your energy grid. You've got the mechanical signal from exercise, which tells your body to build the engine. You've got the chemical signal from fasting, which tells it to clean the system. And then you have the third crucial signal, the environmental signal of safety and community, which acts as the ultimate permission slip for your cells to even bother producing energy in the first place. And that really leaves us with one final, very powerful question to ask ourselves. It's not just about what you do in the gym or what's on your plate. It's about the total environment your trillions of cells are swimming in every single day. So based on everything we've just uncovered, what signal is your life really sending them? Is your life telling your cells to thrive and make energy, or is it telling them to shut down production and prepare for war?